amazing interview with ex-Dr. Ghislaine Nanctou. It is as if this interview was done yesterday. I trust that my mother, sister, and brother will take the time to listen to this information because in 30 minutes it explains my journey of the last 22 years. In this interview, recorded in October 2009, Guy explains the big picture of events that are presently happening around the world. Infinite love.
Good afternoon, Guy. I have a few questions for you, and I think we're going to start at the beginning with your first book. As a medical doctor, you wrote the book, The Medical Mafia, in 1994. In your second book, What the Hell Am I Doing Here Anyway?, which was published in 2002, you totally get out of the medical field to address all other systems. What prompted you to get out of your field of specialty to examine the field of the evolution of human consciousness?
When I wrote The Medical Mafia, I talked about the medical system, how it worked, who the mafia players are, the mafia family, and explained the whole system. When I came to the end of the book, I realized two things. The first one is that all systems are alike. Should it be the medical system? Should it be the financial system? Should it be families? Any system is alike. Education, it's all the same. So once you understand one system, you understand them all. That was very important. Realizing that all the systems were the same. The second thing, I realized that with that book, that what I learned in medical school was not making people healthy, but making people sick for the benefit of big money, big pharma. My question was the following. If what I learned in medical school is making people sick, illness, what is health all about? Then I went through a personal evolution of consciousness through several years. And I realized that the health of my body, the condition of my body, had nothing to do with the body itself. The body is a mere reflection of the state of my consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness is being awakened to reality, the reality of who I am. And the big question is, who am I? I am the ultimate authority. And this is the conclusion I came up with for the medical mafia. If you want to be healthy, if you want to get rid of disease, no aging and no death, which is reality, which is who we are, well, what we have to do is stop being worried with the body and take care of the body, but take care of the consciousness. And where is the ultimate consciousness? It's in the soul. So I said, forget the body and take care of the soul. So this was my conclusion. Realizing who I am sovereign. I am a sovereign individual. What does that mean? Because we hear about sovereignty, all sorts of sovereignties all the time. Well, there's only one real sovereign, and it is the soul. It is inside of us. That's the only way we can be sovereign individuals. So listening to the soul, obeying the soul, is the key to being healthy. That was health-related topics. But the very same thing applies to all the systems. So I started applying to my daily life. I changed my way of dealing with all issues, dealing with being a good mother, for instance. I let go of that. My children were not children anymore, so I was not a mother anymore. I let go of the role of being a doctor. I quit. I let go of doing business with the banks. I let go of the role of being a good citizen and paying income tax when I realized that all money was going to central banks, which are owned by private bankers. So it brought me a total change in my life. The first one, I think, that came about was renewing my medical card, healthcare sort of card. And I said, well, I am the ultimate authority. I am a sovereign being, the ultimate being. I can't be sick. Can you imagine the ultimate authority begging, asking government for a social medical card? I said no. So I stopped using it and I let it go. Something happened 2 years later with my driver's license. I said, well, I'm the ultimate authority. Am I going to ask civil servant of government to grant me permission to drive a car? I mean, that's total nonsense. So I let go of the driver's license. The interest with all those decisions is not the decision in itself. It is the fear that it brings about. And realizing how fearful I am and healing the fear. Because it's the fear that kills me. It's the fear that makes me get old and die. We die of fear and exhaustion. We do not die of illness. We do not die of cancer. It's not true. We die of fear. So the more fear I heal and let go, the more healthy I am. So that applied to the medical system. But you can realize that it does apply to all systems. So that brought me, after 7 years of experiencing this behaving as a sovereign being, sovereign individual, my behavior changed completely. And I wrote this second book, which is, What the Hell Am I Doing Here Anyway? Which is the question, why would I stay on this planet to work, suffer, age, and die, and finally end up dying? What's the point? Why wouldn't I leave immediately if the outcome is the same anyway? So this is what the book is all about. In that book, I shared my experience that I had been through for the past 7 years. And I talked about every system other than the medical system. So I talked about the politics, I talked about economics, the banking system. For instance, we blame the banks for being the richest. The bankers are so rich. They rob our money. How come that we keep doing business with them? How come that we keep borrowing money or lending money with usury? Usury is the way for the rich to get rich and the poor to get poor. It's totally unacceptable to do any kind of business with usury, but we all do it. And then we blame bankers running the world because they're richer than we are, because they use more money than we do. But we have mortgages with them. We do business with them. So the whole book was about those different systems. Religion is another one. If I am the ultimate authority, who is this God we've been talking about? Is this an external authority? If it's an external authority, I am not the ultimate authority. I'm not the supreme authority, and I am not sovereign. Some people claim that the Bible is sovereign, or other people, the Constitution is sovereign. Well, as long as I have an external sovereign, I am not sovereign myself. I am submitted to somebody else's authority. And this is what makes us sick and die. The only way to change this whole situation we're going through, to change this world on the planet, is to make unification inside of me with my ultimate authority. It's not outside, it is within me. And unify the body and the soul together and obey the soul. And that is the key to perfect health and immortality.
All right. The problem is, when I look at the global events that humanity is presently going through, it becomes obvious that we're in for a big ride straight into hell right now. There have never been so many wars on the planet. The climate is going crazy. People are rioting everywhere. They demand change. Strange illnesses are appearing that may even be man-made. Concentration camps, cremation ovens, guillotines, mass graves stand ready for use, and the list goes on. Could you tell me what is really going on?
I shouldn't laugh, but I cannot not laugh. The more I hear about those atrocities, the more my little voice inside rejoices. Because finally something is going to happen that will force humanity to make the big leap in consciousness that we need to make. What we're going through now is not a monetary crisis, it is not a political crisis, it's not a social crisis, it is an evolutionary crisis. This is very important to realize, because if I see it as a financial crisis, for instance, I'm scared to death, I'm going to lose my money. Yes, I'm going to lose my money. And good, because the less havings I'm left with, the more my being will have a chance to show up and I will become who I really am. So my real nature cannot show up as long as I'm caught in all those traps, family, financial traps, educational traps, media traps. I have to let go of all this. But as long as it's easy and I can still hang on to my old world, I will not let go of those things. So we're going to be pushed by events. We're going to be pushed to make a choice. Do I want to stay in the old world and become a total slave of the new world order? Or am I going to jump out of this old world, really, without knowing what's going to happen to me, but say a definite no, I will not be a microchipped subject of this old world. I will be myself, whatever the consequences are. So it is a great opportunity. Humanity is a transition. It is not the end of evolution. Humanity is a transition between animality and idicity. Idicity being the consciousness of being the divine in self, the divine inside, I mean. So it's a transition. We have the choice to become full animal, the way microchipped human beings are back to animality, or to make the big leap and jump into idicity without knowing what it is. So I see all those issues that look terrible, that really look terrible, and most probably will be very difficult things to experience. But I see them as an opportunity for human being to move to the new species that's ahead, just waiting for us to make the move.
All right. I need to go back to a little bit of common life here. In your book, What the Hell Am I Doing Here Anyway?, you insist on the need for a huge change in very practical aspects of our lives. Can you give us really tangible examples? For example, in health, what do you do when you're sick?
Well, I will go to a chart that I've put up in that book. This one here, which I call the big picture. Disease is for sheep. So is vaccination, because vaccination is something we talk about right now. And doctors, all the medical system, and all the systems are for sheep. What is a sheep? A sheep is a person who lives in fear. Fear runs her life. A person who does not remember who she is. A person who sees herself as a poor creature of an external creator. So the authorities are outside. Whereas, and this sheep, should it be white, a good docile sheep, or black, a rebellious sheep, but it's the same. Both recognize external authorities. This is what matters. The whole goal of this evolutionary process is to go from those external authorities, to realizing that the ultimate authority, supreme authority, is within. So then, instead of obeying and doing what I used to do, I switch and I do the opposite. So let's take an example. I was a good mom. I felt so good to be a good mom. Well, that is a role. But I identified myself with being a good mom. I had forgotten who I was. I am a sovereign individual. I'm not a mom. A mom is a role. I was a good doctor. I was proud to be a good doctor. But I'm not a doctor. That's not true. Oh, this is false. It's all illusion. And this world is a world of illusion. You see, that's for sheep. Should they be white or black? They live in a world of illusion which is limited to what we can see, hear, and touch. But that's not real. So it's a world of lie. It's a world of deception. And who wins and how come the bankers are so rich? Because they're better liars than I am. But everybody lies. So what are we going to do? Well, remember that we're not sheep. We are sovereign beings. We are sovereign individuals. We are creators and creatrix of our life. So it meant a total change, letting go of my mom's role. When my children were grown up, I said, well, you're not children anymore, so I'm not the mom anymore. Practically, that meant, well, I will not take care of you anymore. I will not be a grandma at all. Forget me for that if you ever have children. It also meant stopping all the habits that I used to do that were related to the family. Christmas, no Christmas anymore. I do not celebrate their birthdays anymore. I do not call them for their birthday. Why? Because a birthday is on the road to death. It's one more step to dying. I don't want that. I don't believe in it. I am immortal. So it meant a total change in behavior. As a good sheep, I was happy to contribute to well-being of society through tax payments. But when I realized, and this is what it is to become aware and conscious of what's going on, I realized where the money was going, that it was not used for services to the population. I stopped. But then the fear showed up, and the stakes were threatening me. But I did it just the same. I stopped paying income tax. I stopped doing business with the banks. No more credit cards. No more borrowing money or lending money. No more investment. Investment with a return usually is something that is unacceptable if we think and we want equality on this planet. So it's a total change in every field of my life. That's about it.
And I also mentioned health a minute ago. Well, you talked about different fields, thank you. But what do you do now if you're sick? Since you don't want to go see the doctor anymore, what do you do?
Nothing. I'll tell you something. I'm healthy because I don't go to the doctor. That's why I keep healthy. What does a doctor do? A doctor, this is what the doctor does. If I'm a sheep, I go to the doctor because I'm scared of being sick. But I'm not a sheep. So if I ever get sick, I stay home and do nothing. I can take care of myself. I don't need the doctor. What's the doctor's role? And that's very important. The doctor's role as a shepherd is to shear the sheep. What does a shepherd do? Number one, shear the sheep. Number two, as long as there is no more wool. And number three, lead them to the slaughterhouse. Is this what I want? So I never go to a doctor. Never shall I go to a doctor. I made myself. I'm the creatrix. I made myself sick. So I will heal myself. Period. Let the soul do the business. Let the soul. I'm all powerful. We are all powerful. So let's give the real power where let's give it to where it belongs. And it's not outside, it is inside. This is what it means, self-authority, the real power. All this power is false. It's a false power. For instance, when we stop going to the doctor, there's no medical system. When we stop paying income tax, when I change, I stop paying income tax, there's no more government. Where's the real power? When I stop doing business with the banks, there are no more banks. Where's the real power? I have the real power. When I stop shopping at Walmart, what's going to happen to Walmart? They'll just closed down. That's all. So we have the real power, but we have forgotten it. And the real power is right here. And this is what I talk about. This is what this is what the big leap is that will change humanity. What we hear about right now is that the sheep want the shepherd to change. But we want to remain in this hell on earth situation. We cannot change the shepherd, but we can change. Stop being a sheep and remember who we really are and behave as such.
I've been reading a lot of things about conspiracy, and it looks like the world situation is not going to improve in the years to come. What do you think will happen in the coming months or years? What's waiting for us?
Okay. First of all, when you say it's not going to improve, I rejoice. Remember, I rejoice. So it is going to improve from my point of view. In my perspective, it's going to improve because we're going to lose, yes, we're going to lose lots of assets, lots of rights. We thought we had rights, and they were granted by Constitution. It's nonsense. Just call martial law and all the rights are gone. So it does not exist. It's not true. We've been living in this world of lie and illusion. And there are no such thing as rights granted by Constitution. So we're not going to lose anything. We're going to lose our illusions. Yes, and this is what's going to happen. And you know what? This is going to be very hard. It's going to be very tough. And I would say that most people will die with their illusions. It's going to be so big, they could never think that government was not working for them. They could never think that the government was taking them to the slaughterhouse. But now they will live it, and they'll have to face reality of the situation, and most of them will die from that. What's going to happen? I don't know. Ask those world leaders. They know. They've been planning this era for years and years and years and centuries. This new world order is nothing new. It's been planned, it's been well planned, well organized, and we are coming to its realization right now. Again, let's not forget that it is going to affect us as long as we remain in this world of illusion. But the moment I realize I go back to reality, I jumped into the world of reality, who am I? Well, then it opens up to a whole new perspective of, well, I'm a creatrix, don't forget. I create this new world order. I'm the creatrix of this new world order for my evolution. Oh, well, then it makes sense. And then I can rejoice. And whatever happens, I may die out of it. Doesn't matter. What's death? It's just letting go of this suit, this blouse. It's nothing. Let's stop being afraid of losing what is its all illusion. The body is nothing. But the more, the whole experience we're going through right now as humanity is for the evolution of human consciousness and making the big jump from being a sheep to becoming who we really are, a sovereign mare. It's a mutation. It's big. It's like the fish. When the fish was in the pond and the water was getting scarce, the fish had to make a decision to jump out. And this is the fish who did jump out. Those developed lungs and became amphibians. And the other ones, they died in the pond that was, with the water went away and they died in the pond. That's all. See, this is the choice we have now. Now. Don't wait until you're going to face an emergency. Now, make a decision. The decision is right here. Am I going to stay there and hang to this old world like the fish in the pond? Or am I going to jump out, not knowing what's going to happen? But I'll say no to this world. No, thank you. No more. I'm over with this. It's a choice. We have a choice as human beings. Never say you don't have a choice. You have a choice. Animals do not have a choice. Human beings have a choice.
Well, I think we're going to have to make a decision pretty soon because the United Nations has called a pandemic, and governments and the industry and science and the media are all telling us that this is very serious, while obviously there are no people dying of it, or almost none. Something is going on, and we're going to have to decide very soon. I've been reading and listening to the news, and they're saying that we might even have compulsory vaccination. People are even saying if I don't say yes to vaccination, I might end up in a concentration camp. Now, the decision is coming very soon. We're in the middle of it. What are you going to do when they come and ask you for if you want to get vaccinated?
My answer is ready. No, thank you. It is not for me. That's all. There's no question about this. Accepting, it's a matter of identity. Accepting vaccination is denying who I am. So there's no way I will ever accept any kind of vaccination. I have not done it for years, and I will never do it. Whatever the consequences are. That's all. I don't want to go any deeper into this discussion of vaccination. It's a political decision. It's, they have agendas. The New World Order world leaders have an agenda of reducing the population on the planet, selecting the ones they want to keep and letting go of the ones they don't want to keep. It's like, again, think of a shepherd. You have to put yourself into the shoes of the shepherd. The shepherd has a cattle of 7 billion, almost 7 billion people on the planet. How can they manage that? There are too many. So let's get rid of some of them and make a good selection while we get rid of them and select the good ones, keep the good ones and let go of the other ones. And how can you do that? Of course, vaccination is the perfect tool to achieve this process. And also, if you want to control people, because let's realize or remember that what's going on is that consciousness is raising, and the more people are moving towards a new consciousness, and the more consciousness is raising, the more difficult it is for the shepherd to control his sheep. They talk about freedom. They talk about weird things, like being sovereign, being their own masters. You can't stand this. I mean, it's intolerable. So they have to control them, and well, microchips seems to be something that they have considered using, And again, the best tool to have a microchip installed is through the vaccination, definitely.
But
So
don't you think if we all get together and walk in the streets, you know, like the people who did at the G20 meeting in Pittsburgh? We can send petitions, we can walk in the streets, we can just say no, and get the whole bunch of black sheep together and stop the business.
That's the black sheep mode. I do not recommend this at all. We have been using those methods for centuries, and all those that belong to the black sheep. Am I going to remain a sheep? Should it be white or black? It's a sheep. Let go of this. You will end up in concentration camps, and you will go nowhere with this. It's not time to riot. It's not time to complain. It's not time to resist. Stop this. It's time to jump out of the old world into the new one.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I wanted to ask you questions about your new book called Madame Guy, you know, the one that talks about the legal system, but I guess we won't have time today. It's a big issue.
It is.
So I guess we'll see each other again for a few more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's rejoice, because the absolute insanity we are experiencing is an illusion, which is forcing more and more people to awaken. However, we must have compassion for those who are incapable of awakening, because the mRNA injections have created a separation from the individual soul. The only way out of the illusion is absolute non-compliance. I am not interested in survival, which leads to inevitable death, with reincarnation back into this virtual reality simulation. I choose to live at all cost. The courageous ones have consciously chosen to get out of the illusion and will continue the evolution of consciousness on the ascending crystal spiral. Consider viewing the many videos I have created on the time wave spirals. I know my jail experience was a blessing because it forced me to leave Canada and what was perceived as a perfect life of a very successful dentist and mother of 2 wonderful children. I accessed the courage within me, abandoned myself to my soul, and jumped into the complete unknown. Today, I'm able to offer guidance to those who choose life in Colombia or Ecuador. A long-term stay at Cascada Café Retiro is $400 per month. I also offer reconstructive dentistry at a very affordable price. Finally, I am guided by the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga goes beyond individual liberation and embarks on a collective transformation on earth. After Sri Aurobindo's passing, the Mother continued their work, and on February 29, 1956, she brought down the supramental consciousness upon earth. Since then, the supermind has been operational on earth as an active evolutionary power. A new phase of evolution has begun amid the collapse of the old world. Integral yoga is an invitation to take part in an unprecedented adventure of consciousness. Will you join us? Infinite love.